What is up, everybody? Not one to normally do these type of videos, but you know what? It's a new year. Thought, why not? Just thought I'd do a little quick walk around and show you what you can still buy in the state of Minnesota in 2020 for 400 bucks. This rusty old gem right here. So I picked this truck up about probably 6-7 weeks ago now. I was up in Maple Lake, Minnesota, looking at another pickup up there. Guy decided to fight me over like 20 bucks, 30 bucks, walked away on it and found this one sitting next to a guy's shop in a snowbank. It's an 01 Chevy Silverado with a 5.3. Ended up taking a look at it, driving it, and made an offer for it for 400 bucks, and the guy took it. Had to go through and do a little bit of small stuff on it, but overall it's a solid pickup that has been more reliable than what I need for so far. So yeah, I just thought I'd take a quick walk around to see what you can still pick up for 400 bucks. So as you can see, it's got the good old Minnesota trim package, a little weight reduction on that. These rear tires, I'm gonna get them replaced here. You can see they're not quite bias plies, but they're getting there. They're a little thin around the edges. Definitely a true beater, you know, dings and dents everywhere on it. New tires in the front. He put new brake lines on it, new brakes all around. I mean, runs and drives good. You can see it's early in the morning here on Sunday. I want to say last time I drove this thing was probably Thursday. Took it down to work. So it's been sitting a good couple days. It's been pretty not seasonally cold, but somewhat cold. It's been below zero yesterday, so I think it's about 8 or 9 degrees today. So she's been sitting about 4 days, and I thought start it up and show you everything on it works, runs and drives good. So I'll jump in here, just get it started, show you a few things. One thing I have noticed with the truck ever since I bought it is I think the fuel pump's just a skosh weak. Maybe even if it's not weak, maybe just doesn't prime all that fast. So if I just turn the ignition on, it doesn't want to start as easily. So what I've been doing is just priming the pump a couple times, and she seems to fire right off just about every time. So granted, yeah, it hasn't been ran or started for 3 days now. It's been fairly cold. Runs and drives really good. When it idles right down, you can see some of the spots where it was really rusty. Got stickers and things like that. They're mostly to cover up rust more than anything else, honestly. But the doors had a little issue. Back doors don't open, except the rear one does from the inside only. Handles are broke off. You can see my nice little fix there. The window on the passenger side does work, but the regulator, I believe they replaced the window regulator at one point and didn't align it quite upright in the actual door panel, and so that's all the farther she rolls up. So I just put some tape and some insulated material in there for now. I'll probably get to that in the spring sometime. You can see here the door panel doors don't want to open, but this one does from the inside, so that's kind of nice. At least I got that feature. Overall, I mean, pretty clean truck. I mean, it's ugly, but works good. Everything on it works. The heat works, radio works, defrost, everything on it works good. You know, it was a bit ugly. You can see some of this little door inside of the door panel there, that was falling off, so I put some tape up on that. But a little weight reduction here in the front too. Ooh, she's slippery there. But I mean, checked all the fluids, put about 100 bucks of fluids and services into it, dropped the oil, dropped all the fluids, replaced the thermostat, new coolant flush. But yeah, I mean, the guy put well over $1,000 into it right before he sold it, so yeah. Might take a couple minutes probably to warm up here, but yeah, everything on it works. 4-wheel drive works. Shifts right into 4 high. Drop it down into neutral and drops right into 4 low too. There it goes, clicks back in. Cargo lamps work, all the lights on it work. Cruise control works, tow haul mode works. All my gauges work, which blows me away. You can see I got idles right down to about 600 revs. Higher mileage truck, 282, 729. I had 282,000 on it when I bought it. Fuel gauge works, oil pressure works, temperature of the coolant works good, voltage meter all works. Like I said, the radio works.
Let us help you out with
All the various functions on the inside work. All the fans work. My power outlets work. You know, the power windows, they work. Other than, of course, the passenger side, which is taped up there, which it works, but I'm not gonna fuck with that. Yeah, I figured she's a bit of a turd, but she's solid and reliable. So I don't know if anybody's seen the old Zip Ties and Bias Plies YouTube channel there, but I figured my dad had some of these stickers made up. Figured I'd give her a old Slave Lake South. That's, I think, what I'm gonna call the truck, because it is a solid, just good old reliable piece of shit. So yeah, I'll let it warm up here for a couple minutes and we'll take it for a quick spin once it gets defrosted here. Well, she not fully defrosted, but it's getting pretty close, good enough to drive anyways. Just another quick disclosure there. The check engine light, ABS light, all that of course is on. I've already pulled the codes on that. Had a bunch of them when I started here. Mass airflow sensor was real dirty. The coolant was disgusting. The oil looked like chocolate milk. So went in, dropped all the fluids across. A lot of those codes went away. It's throwing a couple, it's throwing a random misfire code and a couple emissions codes. You know, these early 2000 Chevys, they had some issues. They had kind of some ABS. I'm not super knowledgeable on it, but my understanding was they had kind of like a body control module on a modern pickup, but it was linked up to the ABS system, and sometimes the software on them would kind of flash out. And so there's nothing wrong with the brakes. The brakes work good. The engine runs fine. The idle's down fine. Just kind of one of those things that it just kind of sits there in limbo and doesn't really know what to do. Doesn't really bother me. It runs and drives down the road fine. You know, I think, like I said, simple old emission stuff on a truck like this with almost 300,000 miles, you're going to get a little bit of that. But yeah, we'll take a quick buzz around the block and show you how this bad boy runs. It's a little bit slick coming up this alley, so I'm probably going to slide around just a skosh. If I was smart, I'd put it in two-wheel or four-wheel drive right away, but you know, what fun would that be? Instead, I'd rather spin out a little bit here, like here, huh? All right, we'll throw her in 4 high. There we go. Bear with my excellent camera work here. I'm not used to doing these type of videos, so, you know, it's not really my forte. But yeah, the guy I sold this truck from, guy up there in west of the metro, he's a super nice guy, older guy. You know, he said he'd had the truck. He used to drive it back and forth from the cities a lot. Bought it about 6 years ago. He's the second owner. You know, and he had bought another one that was a little bit newer, and he was just looking to get anything for it. So worked out in my favor. I mean, everything on it runs and drives good. I mean, no major complaints on my end. The transmission's a little bit weak, but not bad. I put some Lucas anti-slip in there when I first bought the truck, and I've driven it about 1,000 miles since. And the more you drive it, it seems the better the transmission likes to shift. You know, it's one of those, every once in a while you like to give her a little beans just for the sake of shits and giggles. It's one of those that you don't really care if you park next to somebody and they ding up your bumper. That's just matching the other side that's already looks like shit. So yeah, I said, you know, for this day and age, it's one of those that, can you really beat something like this for 400 bucks? A working four-wheel drive pickup with pretty much everything on it works. I mean, it runs and drives down the road good. I've never had any problems with it. There was a little bit of interesting work I had to do on it when I first bought it. The replaced the thermostat while I was dropping the coolant, since I already had to drop the lower radiator hose, and went to go pull on these older GM pickups. They just have 2 bolts that hold the entire thermostat housing. The thermostat's just one piece metal housing. You just take those 2 bolts out, I think they're 10 mils, and they just drop out, and then you just pop it right back in and it hooks right onto the lower radiator hose. Well, I went and removed the first bolt, no problem. I go to remove the second bolt. I had a little socket extension on there and I couldn't find the bolt. I saw the hole where the bolt was, but there was no bolt. So I had to kind of finagle that a little bit, got the housing off. Turns out somebody screwed around with the thermostat at some point and ended up shearing the bolt off at the head. So the threads were still there, but the bolt was gone. So I had to take a vice grips and slowly but surely spin the bolt out all the way, what was left of it, and then ended up buying a new set of bolts, replaced them both, dropped the new thermostat in, and everything was good to go after that. So yeah, one of those things that it is what it is, you know. Yeah, shifts all right. Doesn't ride amazing, but it rides not bad for an 01 truck with 300,000 miles on it. You know, the shocks, I was looking at the shocks, looking at the front end, all those various things. You know, they're not new, they're worn, but they're functional, and everything on them looks pretty solid. I don't see any leaks or nothing like that in any of those in the seals or the boots. Everything looks solid. Does not burn any oil from what I've seen, doesn't use coolant. All the fluids on it pretty much look good through and through. They said other than the priming the fuel pump when it's cold, fuel pump's probably just a skosh weak, but other than that, I mean, it starts every time. I mean, yeah, today's not super cold, but it's been sitting for 3 days and it got below 0, so so I mean, that was a bit of a cold start this morning. But yeah, take it back home here quick and park her. So yeah, that's just a brief little video there. Kind of shows you, gives you a perspective of maybe ugly, may not be the prettiest looking thing in the world, lots of aesthetic issues. But yeah, that's what you can get for $400 in Minnesota in 2020. You know, a solid, fairly reliable 4-wheel drive pickup. I'll cut that off here. I'm almost getting home. I will talk to you guys later.